Bottle Rocket News. I'm Rajesh Midha, and I'm here with the amazing technology team from Bottle Rocket. So the future is different, and it's here now. And we're going to jump right in with the tech team and cover some really interesting topics. So let's kick it off with Amy. Amy, can you tell us a little bit about how tech can help with COVID?
Absolutely. I think we're in a unique opportunity now to where some technologies that have just kind of been emerging over the last couple of years are really starting to be not only relevant, but critical to the way that we're moving forward. So something that's kind of close to my heart is education and technology being used for education. So really watching how in many ways the experience that students are getting now with at-home learning it doesn't replace the classroom. The classroom is absolutely better, but in some ways the learning is actually better. The technology enables them to kind of customize the learning plan so that each child is learning at their own pace. And so some of the faster learners maybe only need to hear information one time before they can apply it, where others need repetition. And so it's actually kind of in some ways better. I think it's gonna expand in the future how the tools can support better learning for our students.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm noticing it as well with my children. And I definitely think that like different schools have different approaches. My daughter goes to one school, my son goes to another. My son's like doing all of his classes on Zoom right now. And for him, it's like he's not even missing a beat from being in the classroom, albeit maybe being in the lunchroom with all the boys. But my daughter, she's having a different experience. And it will be interesting to see how that evolves over time and where the pros are and where the cons are. But I guess we have no choice in the environment that we're in.
You're right.
So let's go to Al. Al, maybe you could give us your perspective on how tech can help with COVID.
You know, I think one of the interesting things we're seeing is partnerships. Apple and Google, for the first time that I can remember, are actually partnering together to help out with contact tracing. What they're doing is implementing somewhat of an SDK on your devices. And once you opt in, and it's opt-in based, you'll be able to load up your information, an encrypted version of your information as far as your location. No one will know where you actually are, but you get an ID for your location. Anyone that also says they have COVID, there'll actually be a log for all individuals who said they opted in, A, and B, who now say that they have COVID. So now there'll be a tracking mechanism to find out who you've come in contact with that actually has traces of the virus. Now you actually have to say, I have COVID, and actually participate in that way. So it's opt-in based, it's logged, it sits on the phone until it actually moves out up to a server. And you can also opt out at any time too.
And Al, let me ask you, like, do you think you're going to do this for yourself? I mean, is this something that you would do personally?
Honestly, information is usually the most valuable when it's the least convenient to provide. So I think now is a really good time to build a good sample group of individuals who have the virus and individuals who don't. I think that impact of information really has some value. I think it's worth it. So yeah, I'll be participating for sure. I'd encourage others to do so too. Your identity won't be tracked. It'll literally be just an encrypted version of your location that's going to be shared.
I think that point you just made is so critical. The identity is not going to be tracked. I also think that we're dealing with something that is just so large that for me, at least personally, it parks aside my privacy concerns. And I would definitely do it. The one question I have outside of the privacy is also this idea of stigma around COVID. And I've seen that previously around the mental health stuff. And I wonder if we're moving into a world where there is some stigma about disclosing, and do people feel like they've been branded with some sort of scarlet letter or something like that? Even though if they've come through it, they're going to have immunity and antibodies.
Absolutely.
But,
Some really good news on that last point. Apple and Google have done and gone out of their way, and you can actually read their both CEOs' press releases on the matter. But they're going out of their way to make sure that identity is not a part at all of what's being disclosed. It's literally an encrypted version of your location, and it surfaces that information in the event that you decide that you say that you have COVID too. So it's not anything about you. It tracks individuals that had contact, but not who they are.
Thank you so much, Al. So let's go over to Daniel now and talk a little bit about what do you think around how tech can help with COVID from a social perspective? Daniel?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really interesting. I love, Zoom now is part of the public vocabulary. Technology and trying to bring people together is not, as you said, it's not optional anymore. It's part of what we have to do to try and stay connected, to try and stay human. So the question shifts from, is it good? Is it something we can do? To how can we make it better? How can we make it more connected? There's a lot of shared experience things now coming out where you have shared movie experiences, people writing apps to try and help people enjoy movies together separately, right? Being able to react, being able to watch, being able to play video games together. Of course, network, multiplayer video games have been popular forever, but how can we take it to the next level? How can we do virtual reality games? How can we take it to the next level in any different number of ways? And trying to bring together humanity through technology, augmenting the physical interaction, because for a little while more, we're going to have to be physically separate, but we have that deep need to be social. Yeah, Zoom's great, but we can do better.
How is it manifesting in your own life? Like, what are some of the things, like, have you watched a movie with friends, or are you Zooming happy hours? Like, how are you spending your social
Yeah,
time?
totally. Right now it's a lot of Zoom going on, a lot of Zoom. We do family Zooms, as I think a lot of families do, and that's a lot of fun. It's fun seeing nieces and nephews, one-upping their parents. It's fun to see my kids get together with their friends and trying to figure out technology on their own, figuring out new and unique ways. And ultimately, I just want, like I said, I think that there's a lot that doesn't exist yet that we can help right now bring to the forefront and make it happen. I've also been very surprised at how quickly a lot of apps have been able to pivot to start, apps and restaurants in particular, to start making curbside happen, and things that just like, wow, I know a lot of work has gone in to making functionality that people need exist in today's world.
Yeah, no, that's well said. And I know here at Bottle Rocket, we're being asked to do the same thing for so many brands. And you're right, like there's a whole world of change that is driven by the fact that we're living in this COVID-19 timeframe. Amy, maybe just interestingly, could you share what are you doing to connect socially? Are you using FaceTime or TikTok? Or, I mean, I can picture you making TikToks all day long. Like, how is that right?
Well, my daughter is definitely a big fan of the TikTok, but no, it's actually been really nice because I found myself, like, I will like to go for a walk in the afternoon and I'll call my mom on the phone, which I don't do very often anymore because, we email and we everything else, but it's like, it almost that personal connection is so much more important now than it ever was before. And so being able to check in on her, hear her voice, see how she's doing, it's actually been really meaningful for me. So my family's been doing a lot of Zooms as well, but it's crazy because like the little kids just run in and out of the frame and it's kind of nutty. And so I really enjoyed kind of those one-on-one conversations a little bit more just because then you can really connect.
Yeah, thanks. And I know for me personally, I feel like I'm really blessed with having family and friends, but I wonder sometimes what it's like for people who are a little bit more alone in their life and don't necessarily have that network. And I wonder if there's a way for technology to help people to feel, just more connected. Al, do you have any perspective on any of that?
Look, it's been really easy in this household. My family is no shortage of talking and sharing and sharing and talking. So, and actually last weekend or a couple weekends ago, we did a Zoom Easter and everyone fell in love with the idea. So they've been doing Zoom everything. Zoom Wendy Williams shows, Zoom news, Zoom this, that. So we all just kind of log in at any given time and just participate together in things. It's been amazing, to be honest. I wasn't expecting us to get this close during this time, but it's been a happy revelation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much. Well, let's go to the next question here. How do you think COVID will impact the future of technology? And Daniel, maybe we could start with you.
Yeah. So what I love is the way that the way that technology has already been ramping up to this point. So I actually had an interesting story I wanted to like that I remembered. My roommate in college, he's this guy's just the absolute smartest guy I've ever met, and graduated from Georgia Tech with the fastest with the highest GPA on record, and went and got his PhD and had a family. And his first son, was born with a rare genetic disorder, and there's no cure for it. No one knew what it was, and he pivoted his entire career into medicine. Became a doctor, a research physician, ran programs throughout the country, and ended up kind of pioneering the idea of using machine learning to treat rare genetic disorders. And he's been doing it, for about the past 10 years. So as this has all been kind of coming up and going on, it's been really interesting to watch him through social media, because I don't know that world like he does. Watch him kind of working with his colleagues about, how are we going to try and apply our machine learning models? How are we going to try and use the, there's prep processes to get vaccines basically halfway there so that you can spin them up quicker for times like this now. So technology has already been ramping up to this point where we can use technology to try and fight diseases, fight these viruses. And I think the future is going to be even more so. It's going to be done quicker.
Super interesting. Amy, what about you? Do you have a perspective on how you're thinking that COVID may impact the future of tech?
So yeah, I'll say my team has been, so I lead the technology team at BottleRocket, and they have been asking for years to support more remote work opportunities. And I will say the success that we've had in doing that now, it's a huge opportunity for us to be able to expand more nimbly, not be limited to location. We can hire the very best talent no matter where they exist in the world if we're not limited by trying to find people who live within a certain radius of our office. And I think that our team has been at least as productive, if not more productive than they were when they were working from the office. And so I would love to see more and more remote work opportunities for jobs where it's possible. I really think that technology has evolved to a point now where it is just seamless. You go from Zoom, you share your screen over Slack. Most of the tools that we're using are supportive of like our code review process. It happens completely in an asynchronous technology way already. And so I think that, like I said, technology has been evolving all this time, and now it's finally ready for us to take advantage of it and really make the best use of it.
Yeah, thank you. I am also completely blown away by the way that BottleRocket has just immediately adapted to this new world. I mean, between some of the new tools that we've deployed in the last couple of weeks, I mean, we are functioning right now at over 100%, and it's unbelievable to see. I mean, I was in this whiteboarding session with a customer the other day, and our design team was like managing this incredible whiteboard, and we were doing one of our team members, Kirby, shared with me afterwards. She said, "Rajesh, I think that was more productive than doing it in person." I was like, wow, I mean, it's really incredible.
No, I think you're right,
ingenuity of our team.
We now have a record. Instead of stuff being written on a whiteboard that gets erased, there's now a digital copy of it that we can share forever. And I think, some of those things are almost better than they were on the original way.
Well, then you have the social constructs too. In those conversations, sometimes alphas can take over a conversation. So now you have everyone that can actually share something at any given time, just like you said, asynchronously. Add a note, add a different provision, add a different way of thinking about something. And we see all of that afterwards. It invites everybody to the conversation. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, Al, how about you on the future of tech? What's your perspective on some things you're looking at?
Well, we've been talking a lot about a touchless future. In the situation after all of this clears, there's going to be some really practical, critical things we'll have to do with how we interact with the world physically. I can't wait to get back in people's faces and be physical again. But there's going to be something said about what doors we touch, how we enter buildings, because we're still going to do those things. We got to have the human-to-human contact and share physical space. But as we think about this touchless future, I got to think about 3 areas that are really interesting to me. Accessibility, where there's individuals with disabilities or even temporary disabilities, a broken arm or something like that. They have to experience technology using accessibility standards, right? I have to be able to move through a web screen without touching it. And I need to be able to do that with my voice or some handles on a wheelchair or something like that. And then there's also EMV chips, whereas before these were temporary, not temporary, but more conveniences that stores would provide. Well, now these are going to be critical, practical pieces of our lives where we can actually pay and transact without having to whip out our cards. So the good news is, and I'm very proud of technology in this way, we've been thinking about a lot of these things, as Amy said before, but they were kind of conveniences. They weren't for practical use. Well, now we're about to move into a situation socially where we got to start looking at those things as practical, everyday use. So the good news is we've kind of equipped ourselves with some of that already. So this should be a smooth transition. So we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, 2 that came to mind, just listening to you were, you know, the pharmacy and the electronic signature, or giving my credit card to somebody to run it and then getting it back. Like, you know, I mean, I also wonder what it means for cash as well, because we're learning so much now about how cash transmits things.
A lot
So
of
it's going to be
conversations around cryptocurrency and those types of things too. Yeah.
great call. Great call. Well, listen, I want to thank each of you for joining Bottle Rocket News. This has been a fascinating discussion. I've really appreciated having all of you here, and we hope you join us again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for Josh.
Thank you.